Hello and welcome to a new episode of SportsDay Rangers. I'm John Blake.
And I'm Evan Grant. And before John goes any further, look, Adrián Beltré is going to be here. That's our guest. There's going to be a long intro, all of that stuff, but Adrián Beltré will be here, so put up with it and stick around.
And I've decided to can the long intro, and I was going to get to that.
All right, well, I just want to make sure they stick around, John.
So before we get to the great Adrián Beltré, we're entering the final 6 weeks of the season, and the Rangers are certainly struggling to keep pace, for third place in the American League wild card. They've got 2 big series this week with teams ahead of them, and the Rangers have won 3 of their last 11 games.
But could you say that with any more depression in your voice? Look, the stretch featured some disheartening losses. I mean, there were 2 late game losses, 2 big blown leads late in the game. And it would be easy to sit here and say that that's on the bullpen, but I also think that that's some of the buildup that's taken place with an offense that has misfired over and over and has forced Bruce Bochy to use this bullpen as much as he has. And so I thought there was going to be some point in time where it was going to be some kind of calcification of that led to a couple of losses, and they suffered those. And the most important thing to see is how they bounce back. And as we record this, it's been a so-so response.
And we'll talk about this in a minute, but the Rangers enter the week a game under 500, 5.5 back in the wild card, 7.5 back in the division, in third place behind Houston. And I don't know if you can look. I mean, Adrián was part of that 2015 team that got off to a really bad start and was under 500 and came back and won the division on the final day. And I guess that gives you some hope, but we'll talk about it here in a minute, about the bullpen and, what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot to get into with this team.
And we'll finish it up by unveiling the winner in our month-long voting to determine the top regular season moment in Rangers history. The 2 finalists, if you remember, were Kenny Rogers' perfect game in 1994 and the Rangers' first run to the American League West Division title, first time the club had been in the postseason in franchise history in 1996.
And look, let's get to the disclaimer. We should mention also, before we get to Adrián, that he's going to be in town on Friday for the unveiling of his statue. We'll talk about that in our interview with Adrián. Now for the disclaimer. As you know, SportsDay Rangers is our weekly spinoff of the Dallas Morning News SportsDay Insider podcast. You can find it in the SportsDay Insider feed wherever you consume podcasts. Both podcasts will then populate into your feed.
And if you want to interact with the show, you can reach both of us on X. I'm at Ranger Blake, and Evan is at Evan_P_Grant. You can also reach out to the Morning News on any of the paper's social media channels. So as we sit here today, it's been a rough week for the Rangers. Some really backbreaking losses by the bullpen, which had been pretty steady for most of the year, but they don't have a lockdown closer, obviously. So, Evan, what do you now? The offense has scored 4 more runs in 4 of the last 6 games, as we talked. Bruce Bochy changed the lineup up a little bit, moved Marcus Semien down, and went with Langford and Seager in the 2 and 3 spots. But I think we probably do have to start with the bullpen, because even on Sunday, it got a little dicey there in the 8th inning.
Yeah, and look, I think this is the issue when you go into a pennant race without an established closer who hasn't been in those high leverage situations. Phil Maton has been great in the 7th and 8th innings. You move him to the 9th, and all of a sudden he's hit some rocky patches. Those are situations where you absolutely need strikeouts. You need strikeout pitchers. That usually means high velocity guys. I know the Rangers won in 2023 without that guy at the back of their bullpen on a nightly basis, but all of Josh Sborz, Aroldis Chapman, and Jose Leclerc had average to above average fastballs and had a strikeout pitch. It's hard to win without guys who can strike guys out. You're just relying on too much defense behind you. The Rangers defense has been good by and large, but you're relying on no mistakes. You can't play perfect baseball day in and day out all year long.
And Sean Armstrong right now is probably your most reliable arm out there. I assume he's going to start getting late rolls here with other guys kind of having some issues there. Is that what you're kind of seeing here as we go down the stretch here?
I mean, at this point in time, you've got to kind of ride whatever is the closest thing to a hot hand, right? With no Garcia, and you've got to take Garcia out of leverage positions, which he's done. You've probably got to back off Maton a little bit here now, and if you move Armstrong into the ninth inning and are holding him for the ninth inning, now all of a sudden, how do you fill that hole in the middle? They had started to give Cole Winn some more high leverage opportunities. He's got some great stuff, and he's throwing the ball really well this year, but he still does walk a lot of guys, and we saw that show up in Toronto. So there's not this is the issue with a rollless bullpen is you're one or two bad outings away from having to change guys to having to move parts around, and the Rangers just don't have the ability to ride any of this out. They don't have the ability. We've got what 39 games left in the season at this point in time. They do not have the ability to kind of ride things out and see where they fall.
But what do you think of the lineup changes? They seem to have a little bit of success over the weekend. Simeon has come back from getting hit on the hand on Friday, and Berger has hit a little bit more. Corey Seager, but again, I guess we'll see what happens because it hasn't been on a consistent basis. But there were signs in the long ball and that kind of thing. There were some signs that maybe you're seeing a little bit more life there.
Well, the ball did fly out of the park on Sunday. And listen, this team is going to go how Corey Seager goes offensively. He's the one player in this lineup now who's capable of carrying this team. So when he hits a home run with a runner on base or he has a big day at the plate, this offense is going to look much more formidable. I do think that Marcus getting a day off, whether it was for the sore wrist or for anything else, I think at this point in time, as he's about 3 weeks away from his 35th birthday, and we talked to Ian Kinsler last week about how, as you get older as a second baseman, the drop off does tend to become a little bit more pronounced for guys. And we've seen that in Kinsler's career. We've seen that with any number of guys. And I think that it's time that the Rangers consider more regular off days for Marcus to keep him a little bit fresher. He did what he needed to do yesterday. And whether that was freshness from having a day down, or whether it was freshness from having a mental break, whatever, he got the job done yesterday on Sunday.
So we've said this, I don't know how many weeks in a row. This is an important week for the Rangers. But Evan, this is really kind of the week. I mean, this is the two teams ahead of them in the wild card standings. They play 4 at Kansas City, then come home and play 3 with Cleveland. And this probably really is the week, I would think.
And they've got about 2 trends that have gone for both of these years since 23. They got a win on the road, which they haven't done. They've got over the last 2 years, I think at 59 and 84, they're tied for the 25th worst winning percentage on the road. They're one of the bottom 5 teams. Against 500 or better teams over the last 2 years, they are 26. And so what do they have? They have 4 games in Kansas City, 3 games against Cleveland, the 2 teams ahead of them. They have got to buck the trends. And this should be a week where you're hoping to just kind of tread water and not lose any ground. I think the Rangers have got to go over the course of the week. They've got to win 5 out of 7. They've got to win both of these series. So they've got to win 3 out of 4 against Kansas City and 2 out of 3 against Cleveland just to inch up. That I think would catch them probably with Cleveland and put them back in the position that they were at 3 weeks ago. But that's 3 weeks of wasted time to basically get back to where you once were.
Well, speaking of the Cleveland series, this coming Friday is a big day out here at Globe Life Field at 2:30 on Friday afternoon. We'll have the dedication and the unveiling of the Adrián Beltré statue. It's open to the public. We're going to open the game day credit card lots. The Rangers will open them at 2:00, so you can come out early and park. And we do encourage fans to come out. This is kind of a red letter day for the franchise. We have not dedicated a player statue that we did since 1997, which was Nolan Ryan. The Ivan Rodriguez statue was kind of a purchase. It was he had the statue made.
It was
and
purchased
it was
out of his backyard.
And so that's what we did with that one. And the Benji Molina Neftali Feliz statue was done by the city. So this is really the first Rangers player statue that's been in here in number of years. So
And that'll go out on the plaza between the stadium and Texas Live?
No, it's going to go on the Northeast Plaza. There is a by the Northeast entrance. That's the plaza we created with the Hall of Fame plaques out there. There are some plaques. That's where the going to the series statue is with Molina and Feliz. And there's a really good spot there where, and we're going to position it so he's kind of looking towards the old ballpark where he raked. I mean, you look at his career numbers in that old ballpark; they were amazing. So, we're gonna we'll get to Adrian here in a minute.
Be sure to stick around after the interview with Adrian Beltre to find out which moment you crowned as the greatest regular season moment in Rangers history. If this is your first time joining, where have you been? You missed all the excitement of the votes and the prizes. We had set up a bracket of the franchise's top regular season moments, 16 of them, held a fan vote to determine the top spot.
We'll talk to Adrian Beltre coming up next. So our guest on this week's Sports Day Rangers podcast, I'm going to keep my intro short so Evan doesn't give me a hard time, played 21 years in the major leagues, the last 8 with the Rangers, 2024 National Baseball Hall of Fame inductee, and this weekend we'll be honored with having a statue dedicated for him at Globe Life Field, and we welcome Adrian Beltre. Thanks for being here, Adrian.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
So we're going to start, I guess we'll start with the statue. You have been really involved in this during the whole part of it. And what are your overall thoughts now as we're basically 4 or 5 days away from the unveiling?
Well, the whole process has been really easy. Mike has done an unbelievable job making this pretty face. Put in a nice clay. I was able to see the clay part of it. Obviously, the last is already going to be kind of secret, but everything, the process has been good. All the details that he asked for, the measurement, it came out on point. So far it's been great. So I can't wait to see it.
You know, I haven't seen any renditions of this, so I have no idea what the pose could possibly be, but there's only 3 choices in my mind that it could possibly be. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm waiting for you to tell me.
1, obviously, you swinging from one knee.
1.
2, you dragging the batting circle somewhere else. And 3, which actually might be my favorite, would be you barehanding a ball, charging the ball on your way to first base.
Not bad. But I think I would admit that number 2 choice would be really difficult to do on a statue. But you know what? We'll find out on Friday which one it is.
Yeah, I think you've got inside information.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say. So okay. I think we're all gonna wait Friday.
So when the process started, and you were great, Mike Tabor, who is the artist, is from Granbury, and Mike kind of dropped everything he was doing to do this. And again, people think this is an easy process. You just do a clay statue and boom, it's done. But Mike had to have the statue done by the end of December so it could go to the foundry, the fabricator, and be done in time in 7 months, which I had no clue how this works. But when you came in mid-December, it was pretty much done. And Mike's whole thing was getting the head and the face right, and you and your family had a lot of input on that.
Yeah, correct. I mean, yeah, like you say, I think, Blake, that people don't understand how many details goes into this. Even myself, I have no idea. When we got in contact with Mike, which he was grateful to do a lot through Zoom, I'll have to $5 to all the details or Fort Worth. But it was crazy all the details that he need to know about measurements of my body, angles, pictures of the actually event, uh, batting glove that I used that day, shoes, everything that he was trying to accomplish to make it the more realistic as possible. It was unbelievable. And I even know I didn't have a high expectation. I know how difficult that could be to make actually a picture, make it exactly how the person looks. But once I saw the clay part of it, when we flew out to Texas to see it, it was unbelievable the way he was able to kind of maneuver all the little details. It made it look actually like it is my face, including all the gold teeth and eyes and everything. Is amazing the way he was able to do that. Obviously, he's a pro doing that, but in that period of time that he did it, it was something that I hadn't expected to see. But so far it's been really good, and I can't wait to see him.
What did you? I don't think that you would ever like tell the sculptor what to do, but like, what was your input? Like, what were the things that you were involved in?
I was more involved in the sense of measurement that he needed. And obviously, I wanted to look as close to my face as possible. I seen different statues that don't really look like that person. And obviously, John Blake, no, I got my family involved in it, especially my kids. My kids are really, they like to critique me a lot. I was able to show them and see the details of my face, especially, and they really agreed to it. And they agree that that means it's very good looking face, because they like to make fun of me, um and they like to make sure that whatever they're doing a great job. So my whole family was really pleased with it, and if they're pleased with it, I'm more than pleased.
Adrian, when you think about everything that's happened to you in your baseball career, the idea that there's going, and nothing tops the Hall of Fame, but when you think about a statue of yourself being out in front of a ballpark for generations to see, like, how does that hit you? What does somebody think about when they're like having themselves turned into a statue?
That's a great question, Evan. I think that a kid coming from the Dominican Republic for humble beginnings and just being happy to play baseball, and baseball became your passion, and then you get to actually play professionally, and then make that your career, and then be able to play in the best baseball in the world, best competition, and be able to be consistent for years, and somehow I don't know how to have admitted to the Hall of Fame, but and then having a statue made of you, it's just I can't fathom anyway. Anyway, that I was talking to my family a couple of days ago about that. It's mind-boggling, and I don't know if I'm worthy of it, but I'm really appreciative of the radio organization for allowing me to do that, because I never expected that. I didn't even thought about statue ever in my career or my life, and being able to see that every time I go to the ballpark, and see my ugly face, and and outside the stadium, that would be something that would be really really uh, fulfilling for what I did in my life.
Will people be able to touch the head of the statue?
No, not allowed. Gonna be a sign outside, and not touch.
That picture is going to be like circulating nonstop. People
I
posing
know.
with their hand on the head of the Adrian Beltre statue.
Yeah, I'm expecting that already, so I know that's coming.
So look, I wanted to ask you about Cooperstown this year, because I got such a great close-up view last year from your private visit all the way through the induction. I know how gracious and humbled you felt about everything. And I know you were nervous too. And you gave a great speech. But this year you go back as an actual Hall of Famer. What was it like What was this weekend like this year, especially with somebody that you played with for several years and Ichiro going in? So you had a teammate going in too. So I'm curious, like how this year differed for you from last year.
It was way different, Evan. Last year was a lot of excitement, not knowing what to expect, being happy my family's gonna be there with me. A lot of friends were coming over, so we had all that in mind about make sure that people are comfortable, make sure they get a ticket, make sure they get to enjoy it. Moment, that is the highest honor you can get in baseball, and I was so happy to be there. But at the same time, I was worried. I was nervous. I was not comfortable about the speech, getting on to speak in public, which is that kind of whole little bit more of me enjoying the whole process. But I was happy that everything went fine, and after the speech was over, they didn't split up too bad, so I was able to actually suck it all in and enjoy more with the family. That was great. Um, this year was more relaxed. It was not about me. It was about other great players, and like you said, the guy that I play with, my ex teammate, that deserved to be there. Um, and I was just more laying back and actually supporting him a little bit because we had a conversation the day before about his speech, and he was nervous, just like you expected. As our second language, English, and getting up and speak in public that way, uh, it is not easy. Even if it's in your own language, it's not easy to speak in public. But I was able to kind of tell him what I went through the year before and how once you get up there, you see the fans and you see all the crowd and kind of that easy things out because you just kind of just speak from the heart. And he understood that, and I was able to kind of give him a little bit of a more reasoned guy that got inducted, give him a little more perspective of how it could be. And I'm telling you what, man, he killed it.
Sure
She
did.
was it was so funny, good, on point. I mean, he did a great job with his speech. I'm telling you that. I enjoyed the speech. Even though we can hear every little everything perfect because the echo is a little difficult to hear when we're in the back. But what I heard was really, really good. So, I was glad that he was able to enjoy it, get his point across. And he did a great job.
It's part of a very exclusive club. Do you think you'll be going back a lot of years? I mean, you enjoy the camaraderie with the other Hall of Famers and everything? It's I love the inductions in Cooperstown. It's just because you guys are part of this club that is so exclusive.
The idea, John, it is that my idea right now is trying to go the most that I can. I want to try to go every year. Not only to support uh the inductees, but I mean that place is just feel like a secret place. It is just so inviting, so like they just feel different. The atmosphere is just different, and you walk around, you see guys that you idolize, some guys you play with, and guys that you like can believe you in the same circle. So definitely, if I can, I will do my best to be there.
I do want to just say one last thing about the Hall of Fame in regards to you. And I know that it's easier when it's not about you. You're never comfortable when it's about you. So I know that that's why this year was much more comfortable for you. And what I thought, still going back to last year, was, and you guys can speak better to this than I can. I know the Hall of Fame's not crazy about speeches that are full of thank yous for other people because it wants it to be about the Hall of Fame. And Adrian, I know you went kind of outside the bounds to thank a lot of people because that's who you are. And I think it just went so well with who you were as a player to thank that many people. And I just, sometimes these speeches are great performance and entertainment like Ichiro's, but yours felt truly from the heart. And I do think I appreciated that. I think everybody who heard it appreciated it. And people who knew you knew that that was really you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they have a model how they want the speech kind of go about, and actually the amount of time. And for me in the beginning, I just wanted to be the short I can because I just want to get in and get out. But once you start kind of writing down like your whole career of what you went through, people to help you, and people you think is important in your life, family, and all that, they wanting to keep it between 10 to 12 minutes. I think it's something like that. But once you're writing down things, it's like, and I played 21 season, and I think that a lot of people were helpful in my career, and I wanted to take the time to actually acknowledge those people, and it was hard to keep it under 15 minutes. And I speak facts, so that's something would help me. So, but the whole thing about how get the speech the way you want it and get it on the minutes they wanted to. It was hard, but at the same time, for me, it was not the focus. The focus was of understanding who do I want to mention on the speech, and make sure I pronounce those things correctly, and just deliver the way I wanted to. I didn't really focus on what they want me, which route they want me to go, but more like what I wanted to accomplish. I completely went a little bit of rail a little bit, but I feel comfortable the way I did it, uh, because at the beginning it wasn't easy to just compile all those things in such a small amount of minutes. But at the same time, like I mentioned before, I was more worried about like how to deliver that, not being comfortable speaking in public and doing it in English. So I was more focused on that than what they want me to do. So yeah, it's not easy, but I always feel like people don't understand how many uh, friends or family or teammates or coaches have a lot to do with your career. It could be something small that have actually helped you along the way to be able to uh, remember those conversations uh, to apply to your game. It's a lot of things it's a lot of things in baseball when I played that had a conversation with a person that it was just a small conversation, but that conversation until 15 years later, I will remember because that was the key of something I need to do every day. Uh, and even though, to be honest with you, when I was doing my speech twice on my binder, um, I actually flipped 2 pages and completely like skip one version of it. But I was lucky enough that those pages I kind of went through a lot, because I don't want to be able just to read everything. I want to be able to like when I see a point, I can actually speak on it. And luckily, I knew most of it, so I just spoke without reading it. But in one of those pages, it was two person that I actually forgot about to mention. Um, that was one of my first infield coach in the U.S. when I came to the United States. His name was Chico Fernandez. And when I was mentioning all the names, just escaped my mind at the moment. And the other person was Luchi Guerra, which is like, it's kind of like a public relation type for Latin players. When I came to the state, he was like my second mother here in the US. And she actually was there with me. I invited her to come over and I hung out with her. But at that moment on the speech, when a page went over, I completely forgot her name because I was not hearing it. But things that people would never know. But I feel super bad that I was not able to uh, say her name on that stage where I felt like I needed to acknowledge her because she meant a lot to me.
But we will put her name out there now today with the podcast, so you'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. That will help.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you go here in a little bit, but I think we'd be remiss in we want to talk a little bit about 2015. It's amazing. It was 10 years ago. Coming up, you were part of a transition from those guys in 11 and 12, and the disappointment in 12, the disappointment in 13 when we lost the tiebreaker, and then 2014, the team was decimated by injuries. And the first half of 2015, there was a new manager in Jeff Bannister. Things were not going well, but the last 60 games, that team just put it into gear and won the the division on the last day of the season. What were your kind of memories? And also Prince Fielder had a huge year, but what were kind of your recollection of that season?
Well, I remember that, going back when I first signed with the Rangers, one of the reasons when I signed and I felt comfortable signing because I had a conversation with John Daniels and said, hey, yes, I have different offers, probably better offers coming in Texas. The reason I will come to you guys is because you guys you have a great team. You guys just came off of the World Series. If you promise me or do your best to keep a competitive team for the next 6, 8 years, I will come to Texas. And he said, yeah, that's our idea. That's what we want to do. So you should be comfortable doing that. And yes, it did. 11, obviously we went to the World Series. 12, we had a good season, disappointed at the end. 13, it was when it got a little difficult for me because I can see the transition of, some got players leaving, got some young players. We didn't really, based on how the West and the American League was, we were not really the favorites to win the division at the time. And I saw that transition of maybe rebuilding, which is something that I didn't want to really deal with. And we had a conversation about, do you want to stay here or do you want to wait? And I tell you, hey, listen, we just need a couple players. Like, I love it here. I think that I would like to say, but just add some players. He tried to do that. I think he did his best to try to, even though they were not big free agent signing, but I just add players that could help our ball club do better and maybe sneak into the playoffs. Um, and he tried to do that. Obviously, we didn't end up doing that in 13 and 14. But 15 was a difficult year at the beginning. We didn't play well. Um, I started slow. I remember the team wasn't doing well, and then we got that transition when it happened when Banasay came in. But then we just, I talked to the guys and said, listen, like, we're not out of this. You just play. So I just felt like, even though a lot of times team has a great team on paper, it doesn't matter. You have to play the game. And I knew that some of those players they have the potential to be able to carry a team. So, I think we all got hot. Prince got really hot, and I was able to help too. And so somehow or nowhere, we end up, you know, chasing that West, and we end up winning. And that was a great year for us because we finished strong, but obviously not enough to accomplish what we wanted to. But the 15 was a fun year to begin with. It was a fun year, and I definitely have a nice memory of that year.
Was there a point that year where you did say to that team, "Look, guys, we can do this. We're in this," because you had at that point in time you would become the unquestioned leader of the team, and I do think that team galvanized in the second half and really kind of took off. Was there a point where you felt it important to say something?
Yeah, and I did actually because there was a lot of guys. We got a couple injuries early that season, and some guys came back and they started playing better. And I can see us catching up a little by little. And I remember one of the team has a big injury, might have been Houston, and I thought like we have a shot here. We're playing well. Everybody's kind of getting healthy, so let's go for it. I remember we had like a hat streak and winning. I think it was like 12 out of 14, 12 out of 15 games, and then we kind of slack off again. And that's when I remember we had a little meeting about the fact that we would enrich, get doing it. And the guys just, bought in. I was able to give them hope, understanding that a lot of those guys were young. And some of those guys were never been in the playoff before. And I have to kind of explain to them how difficult it is to get there. And we have a chance, just go for it. And it was a great season because those guys we just came together. And they understood what we were playing for. And it's easier too when you don't have that, well, especially for the young guy, the pressure that you have to do it. So you kind of just going from the outside, coming in, okay, let's spoil this, the favorites. And that's how we did it. We played well. We played great defense. The offense was better. The pitching, hold on, the bullpen got better. So I think we just all together came close and came together and get the job done.
I wish it had ended better for you guys in 15, but we got a lot more to talk about. We'll have you on again another point in time.
Will you come on with Evan again, Adrian, or is the statue it? You'll have to think about it.
I'll come on with you, John Blake. I don't know about Evan. I don't want to see the face out of thing. The thing was once a year is enough.
I will come on once a year
for sure. I will come on if you guys need me to. So just let me know.
Well, we appreciate it, and I hope the work you got to do for this little speech on Friday won't be anything compared to the Hall of Fame. But we're all looking forward to the day. It'll be fun to do it. Well, we appreciate it. We'll see you at the end of the week, and thanks again.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And after weeks of voting, the big reveal is finally here. You voted to determine the top regular season moment in Texas Rangers history, and we started with 16 moments 3 weeks ago, and this past week the final vote was held. And again, reminding you the final matchup was actually the 1 and 2 seeds in this poll, which to me was amazing. The number 1 seed, Kenny Rogers' perfect game in July of 1994, versus the number 2 seed, which was the Rangers' first ever playoff appearance, Western Division Championship in 1996.
Yeah, probably the greatest singular moment in franchise history for a player in terms of an accomplishment versus the first real moment of success in the franchise's history. So those 16 moments were selected by the editors at the Dallas Morning News, including our good friend Nate Sanchez, and seeded 1 through 16. And now, the envelope, please, John.
The number 1 moment.
The winner.
The winner by basically a 2-1 margin was the 1996 Rangers, who won their first American League West Division Championship. And I think it's a great choice. I'll be honest with everybody. I'm a little surprised that it goes back that long with all the great moments that have all the individual moments and the clinches that have come since then. But if you were around in 1996 and Evan didn't show up until the next year, he was still covering those Florida Marlins in 1996. But it did mean a lot to the franchise, and the way we came back, and club had a great year, led a long time, faltered in September, came back thanks to John Burkett, Ken Hill, and others, and then clinched that division title on September 27th. And it was a miraculous moment. And then the crowds, the Red October and everything else. And I congratulate all the players on the 96 team and congratulate the fans for their selection. And there will be prizes. The grand prize, which the Morning News, I think, will select a fan here shortly, will be a behind-the-scenes tour at Globe Life Field with tickets to a game, and you'll get to actually probably meet Evan Grant if you're actually here, if we do it one of the nights that he's working.
One of the few nights that I work. But look, thank you, everybody, for joining us on SportsDay Rangers this week. Don't forget to check out more sports content from the Dallas Morning News, SportsDay Insider, my podcast with columnist Kevin Sherrington, and a guest from our SportsDay staff appears in the same feed every week. So you essentially get 2 podcasts for the price of none.
And if you have any questions for us, you can ask us on X. And thanks for participating in our vote again to select the top regular season moment in club history. And Evan has a little news about when this podcast will be posted as starting next week.
Yeah, thanks for running right over into the announcement, John. Listen, thank you to Adrian Beltre for joining us this week. It's always a great treat to talk with Adrian. And the quick programming note is now that the fan vote has concluded, we will move SportsDay Rangers into this feed on Fridays. The plan is to drop SportsDay Insider early in the week and SportsDay Rangers late in the week so that you won't have 2 podcasts dropping at the same time, so we can time them out a little bit better. Hopefully that will work for everybody. And John, it's always a pleasure saying goodbye to you.
And it will be a great way for all of our fans to kick off every weekend to listening to Sports Day Rangers. And Evan and
They
I
can
will
do happy hour at bars and blare it over the speaker.
Yeah, maybe even I'll show up. I'm not that busy. Evan and I will talk to you all again next week. Thank you.